Okay guys, so the purpose of this tutorial is to demonstrate how we would prepare a case and send it via Sirona Connect or CEREC Connect. So once we've entered in the patient information, we will be moved to the administration phase, and you'll see that it'll automatically go to a single restoration. So for this example, what we're going to do is say that we're going to send a full gold crown, or we're going to send a zirconia crown. We'll say a zirconia crown to the lab for manufacture. So auto detect, biogeneric individual. We've got Emax. We're gonna come back and I'm gonna say, hey, let's do, well, we'll select Katana. That sounds great. And then we're gonna do that crown on tooth number 14. When we're talking about materials, it is important what material you select, particularly if it is going to be Emax or if it's going to be zirconia. I have found that if we put Emax and then we ask for a zirconia, that often the lab will get confused and they may make the restoration using the material we don't like. So trying to be consistent with that. That being said, I generally am not too concerned about selecting a gold crown because it's not really even an option in the chairside software. So just the fact that I've got a zirconia here, then when I go to my lab script, it will come through and I find that they are consistent with that. So we've selected our crown. We will now click next and move to the acquisition phase. So with this, the scanner automatically turns on and we'll go through and scan. Very good. So once we've got our scans, then we can move on to the model phase. Okay, so now that we've progressed to the model phase, we know that we're not going to design this crown and mill it in the office. So, but one of the most important things that we need to do is identify the margin. If we leave the margin to be identified by the lab, I have found that they have issues with that and that restorations will come back funny, or we will get a call saying, hey, we can't tell where your margin is. So we just need to take the time to select the margin the way that it needs to be done. And then at that point, once we've got the margin, we can select, and it'll go through this design process, but we're not going to use this design. It just makes sure that we've completed all of the tasks. At that point, we're going to come up here to the Dentsply Sirona logo, and then we're going to select Sirona Connect. And what that will do is take the data that we've got in there. You'll see that it gives this warning, your model will be sent without restorations. And we'll just hit OK. It'll automatically transfer that information to the Sirona Connect. The login information is already there, and we just have it selected as remember password, so we don't have to worry about that. And we just hit log in. Fantastic. So at this point, what it's doing is it's uploading the information. You'll see that it's got our crown type, a crown, biogeneric individual, zirconia, oxide, and then it shows Katana, although the lab likely won't use that. The next thing we're going to do, while it's uploading, we can fill out the order information. So we'll hit enter order data. Generally, if I'm doing a crown, I'm sending that to Glidewell or I'm sending that to Raven Lab to do, and my typical is Glidewell. So one of the things we want to make sure is it's automatically selected, the anonymize. The problem with that is that without the patient's name, the lab has a hard time knowing who it is, and then when they send the case back, they can't give us the name. So we need to make sure that we unclick that so that we can actually see the patient's name there. We could give a patient ID, but we don't need to do that, and then we can select gender. So we'll say female, and then it will automatically list. We don't necessarily, unless we have like an intraoral photo or something that we want to send with that, a shade photo, we don't need to add any additional files. We'll just make sure that we have Glidewell selected. Today is July 10th, so we'll say, hey, we want this back in 2 weeks. And then it does give delivery times, but I find that that's not very important. The other thing you'll see down here is that it'll have additional instructions of purchaser. So we want to select that in there. And then what I would say, if this was a zirconia crown and I were sending it to Glidewell, I would say, please fabricate Bruxer crown number 14, Vita shade A2. And then what we'll see is, as we've been going through and filling out all of that information, the dental case file has been uploaded, and at that point we can say add to cart. So what we see here is that all of the information has been added. We've got the order number, we've got the patient identification, we've got which lab it's being sent to, when we would like it back, and the state. So it's uploaded, but at this point it's important to know that it has not been submitted yet. And I'm not going to submit this case because it's an example, but what we need to do, we've entered it, we've put it into our shopping cart, but until we actually press submit to submit the cart, it won't actually send that information to Glidewell. Instead, it will just remain in our cart until that is actually submitted. So we would just click submit cart, and then it would send that information. I'm not going to do that because this is just an example. Hopefully that helps, guys. Thanks.